All right. Yeah, it's kind of fun. Everyone's everywhere else. No one's in Vernon. We have Valerie in Victoria, we have Diane in Vancouver, and we have Donna. I guess are you officially in Langley? Where are you? Chilliwack?
Sorry.
Surrey, Kate. And yeah, the winner by total like unanimous vote is Linda, who's in Kona.
Nice. Oh,
And I'm in Vernon. Yay! So I was telling Linda, she gets home on Wednesday, that she's going to bring us summer because all of BC is going to go from winter to summer in a matter of 48 hours, just for like 3 days. But we're going to take it. I just did my stretch class tonight, and one of the women is going to Vancouver. And her daughter's boyfriend is a kayak instructor. And so on Friday, and this was like planned months and months ago, they were like, regardless of weather, we are going. And so all of us know that a Friday in late April could have been 10 degrees and Gore-Tex, but she's got a 23-degree forecast. So it will be pretty awesome. And I said to her the same words, remember to stay hydrated. And if you end up feeling like you need to eat an entire bag of black pepper lime chips, it's because you're dehydrated. So that will be, I thought that would be our topic. And Linda has some personal experience with the heat. Actually, Linda, do you mind if I ask you sort of the first 3 to 5 days, how the heat affected you there?
I think the second day after we got here, I went for a run I thought, oh, I'll go 8K. So I went 4, and then I was just a mess. I had like half a bottle of water with me, and I thought, oh, 8K, that's nothing. And it was not pretty. So
Yeah.
the next time I went, I took a full bottle of water, and it felt much better.
Yes, fancy
Yeah.
that. And it's really that simple. So
No.
given the forecast, and this is pretty typical for BC, and it's also very typical, more so for the Okanagan than the West Coast. But with Valerie coming up to race the Oliver sprint, that heat, that weekend, the first weekend in June, tends to be the typical hottest weekend ever in BC on that weekend. So this sort of transitional from, this late April, May is actually a really challenging time for nutrition and hydration because we haven't settled into a pattern. So come summer, it's going to be, if you're on the coast, 20 to 25 degrees. If you're here, it's going to be anywhere from 28 to 35. And yeah, there's extremes on either side, but for the most part, you're in that summer routine and your body's pretty much adjusted to it. I do find that this period of time, as we get adjusted, is very much like what Linda experienced when you fly somewhere warm. And Valerie experienced that probably when she went to Mexico as well, is that you go from, oh, it's cold, you can go run 60, 90 minutes and really not have to have anything, to, oh my gosh, and even your everyday going to the grocery store, working in your garden, doing your daily life things. When we finally go from these extremes, you're outside more. You just are outside more. Like, I don't know about you guys, but when it's been cold, like my garden's atrocious because I have no desire to work in it when it's like feeling like March and there's nothing growing. I'm like, oh, it can wait, because it can wait because it's not really spring. So first and foremost with hydration and electrolytes, and don't hydrate with wine. It's a bonus, but for every hour that you're out in this, so this to me holds true for when it's warm, hot temperatures and when we transition. For every hour you're out for activity, you should be looking at getting a bottle of hydration and typically electrolytes. So as the body transitions from not really perspiring that much, and obviously it perspires in the winter, but not to the same extent. And we're either inside or the workouts are shorter and you're not exposed to it all day. Like, I don't know about you guys, but when it's warm and sunny, I'm not inside. Like I'm outside, unless I have some weird project that's forcing me to be inside, you're out there enjoying it. So you're being exposed to it all the time. Linda, I can guarantee, like, you're not sitting inside on a nice sunny day on Zoom, you're outside.
Yeah,
So we
totally.
gravitate to being outside. So therefore we are exposed to those elements a bit more. And here in the Okanagan, like, I'm not convinced it's going to get to 27 degrees on Friday and Saturday, but that's the forecast. And if you've got a 3-hour bike ride, your body will not adjust to it. And that's okay. It just won't. It just won't. So you can give yourself the opportunity to hydrate, take electrolytes. It's same on the coast. 23 degrees in April, May, the whatever day it ends up being on, is that's a big extreme from, the torrential rainstorms that you guys have been having and the cold. So part of it is giving your body time when we transition to warmer temperatures. It's not that we need to ease off the training, but we need to acknowledge that there's another stress. So when we look at training, the equation is stress plus rest equals success or performance. And it's a very simple equation. Typically, we think of stress as the stress that we give ourselves with our training that goes build, 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 recover, build, 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 recover. And that's all fine and dandy when things are somewhat stable. But now we're going to be introducing a whole new element of stress, which is heat, on top of adding the build, because we're not going to change the build. We're going to still go, okay, yeah, rather than a 2-hour ride, you're going to do a 2.5 to 3-hour ride. One, because we want to, because it's sunny and we want to be out there. But two, it's also a great training effect, and it's great to be able to train. But there's going to be this new stressor that we have to allow our body to understand in adaptation. So I'm not telling you to not do a hard effort or to not go long, but what I'm telling you is to listen to how your body feels in the 24, 48, and 72 hours post, because that's when your body adapts. So yes, you can go, okay, yeah, that's what she meant when it was hot. And so I just think it's really important. And that's why this conversation tonight is really fitting, because we are going into an extreme weather. When you transition to 10 plus 15 plus degrees difference, that's a huge difference for your body too. It's the same as, say, you're a skier and you're used to skiing in -5 and now suddenly it's -20, right? Things have to change and adjust, and the body's going to have some different stressors. So I just thought it was really important tonight to kind of bring that up in the sense of being aware. You don't necessarily need to change your training, but you need to understand that the added stress of the training will add perhaps how you feel next week. And so when you send me your report, or I ask you, so how did the weekend go in the heat? I want you to be honest with it. I want you to be real with going, wow, you know what? I took an extra water bottle and that was great. Or, wow, I should have taken an extra water bottle. It's not right, wrong. It's just kind of, that's what it was. Or, yeah, I did eat an entire bag of chips because I really was needing salt. Those are all indicators of what your body requires and needs. So I'm not telling you to go eat a whole bag of chips, but if you find yourself doing so, you know why. And I can remind you, but if you find yourself doing it, you can kind of chuckle and go, got it. I find it takes 2 or 3 weeks for the body to adapt, and we're not going to necessarily have that consistency over the next, because it's spring. But what this means is that over the next sort of 4 to 6 weeks, which I find by the time we get in, like, because June in BC is the wettest month on earth typically. So we're going to go into some warmth and then go into some coolness. And really our summers are July and August. That's when we are pretty sure we're going to get that consistency of heat. And then the body gets used to it. And here in the Okanagan, suddenly, if it's not 30 degrees, it's actually cool. And if it's not 25 degrees on the coast, it's kind of like, oh, it's, I need a sweater when I go to Kit's pool, right, Diane? So we do adjust to it. And I'll share a story. When I lived in Arizona, and Arizona is extreme. Normally your first 100-degree day happens in May, and then it goes it doesn't drop below 100 degrees until September. It is like it's crazy. The first day that it's 98 degrees, you feel cold. Like, that's ridiculous. It's absurd, but it's true, because your body's kind of used to fighting 110 and 112. And then suddenly it's like 98 and it's like, oh, I think I need a sweater, which we know we don't, but it's how our bodies adapt. So giving our bodies this time, and particularly in this extreme swing, if it does happen, I just want you to be aware of it. The other part of this is now we are, for the most part, everyone is into their larger training. Bike rides are 3+ hours, runs are 90 minutes plus. We start to get that accumulative effect. And so that is also when our nutrition and our recovery nutrition. So in addition to talking about our hydration with regards to the extreme heat, I just wanted to touch base a little bit on the accumulative effect of back-to-back training and the need for our recovery training nutrition. So when you start to do these 3-hour bike rides and an hour and a half runs, you can get away with not great nutrition, because during that actual training effort, you're right at the edge of where you start to tap in. But the problem is that you don't stop there. You keep going, and you may have a recovery day the next day, but you then, swim and then run and then bike and then swim and then run and then have a little recovery day. And then you ride long and then you run long, and it starts to add up again. So I want you to be aware, as we start to increase those training and increase that intensity that goes towards when we race, the importance of getting food in that 30-minute window post workout. Now, whether that workout is an hour and a half, which under normal circumstances you wouldn't really worry too much about, but because you have a longer workout the next day or a more intense workout the next day, it does start to add up, because you are all in a build, regardless of what distance of race you're looking at. We're now in it. Races start. People are going to do their first triathlon in 5 weeks. Mo actually is doing one, I think, in because the Cherry is in Kamloops, or not in Kamloops, in Kelowna. Right, we're in it, and it's so weird, partially because it feels like March out there. It doesn't really feel like we're in it yet, but we are in it. And with that comes that ability to go, okay, I know that effect of training effect and the nutrition is really important. So yes, the pre is important, but most of you, I think, have kind of gotten that now, even regardless of where you are in your season. I got to eat something before I swim, or I need to have a snack before my run. And sometimes that snack backfires and you're like, wow, note to self, don't have hummus and carrots 45 minutes before I run. But we all kind of know we have that energy. Now, what's important is, as that duration of your activities get longer, is, have I had the nutrition during it? And most importantly is, can I get something in? And it doesn't need to be scientifically like some sort of 20% this, 30% that. Yes, that's nice, but it can be a banana. It just has to be something. Not for Diane. Diane, you can have a pear.
No, bananas.
It can be a Cliff Bar. It can be finishing your electrolyte drink, right? Like, it can be anything that gives you that 100 to 150 calories at the time that you finish, because most of us get towards the end of our rides or runs, and this is typically more appropriate for our rides. We get a little lazy towards the end of our rides on our nutrition because we're 20 minutes from home. But the problem with being 20 minutes from home is that 20 minutes from home means that there's a whole bunch of other things that we end up starting to think about because we're home. So the last 20 minutes of your activity is important, particularly in a long bike, to finish your drink, to make sure you're not waiting, because if you ever become angry at a stop sign or a red light, it's because you're hungry. And it might not happen on a 2.5, 3 hour ride, but it will probably most likely happen on a 4+ hour ride. But the other thing is it doesn't help with your recovery. So if you can finish your ride topped up and then give yourself that recovery nutrition in that 30-minute window, take your shower, do a little stretch, and then have a meal, honestly, it's just such a nice routine to get into. And so now as it becomes, you can't really get into that routine when you're running 60 minutes, right? It's not necessary. You run 60 minutes, you take a shower, you're off to work. But now it starts to become, even that 60-minute run, it becomes just what you do. You would assess your nutritional needs, you assess if you've topped them up, you've assessed if you've done them, and then you allow yourself to get on with it so that the next day you can get up and ask yourself to perform again. Because the 3 things that allow us to rest are days off, nutrition, and sleep. So that's when we talk about the equation of stress plus rest equals performance, those are the 3 ways our body recovers, is giving it rest, allowing it to have good nutrition, and to be able to sleep. So rest meaning rest days, sleep meaning actually good sleep. If any one of those 3 doesn't happen, the other 2 will be affected. So if you're not sleeping well at night, it could be because you actually weren't eating very well, or you didn't get a rest day and now your adrenaline's up. So keep in mind those 3 areas. And included in rest are things such as massage. Included in that are things such as our physios or those sort of treatments that keep us strong, right? Because that's what allows us to continue to build. So as we start to increase, as the weather starts to get nicer and better, we start to feel, yes, we're in this season. We survived winter, which has been too long. And now here we are. And now those 3 elements are super important. So I guess that's my message tonight is to, yes, it's great to train. It's great to be able to log the miles. It's great to look on however we're recording that and go, yay, yay, yay. But it's also super important to look at the aspects of the second part of that equation, which is the rest, because it's fun when you're healthy and you feel good. It's fun to stress the body. The way we stay healthy and good is by doing all of those elements of rest, nutrition, sleeping well, getting days off, getting, some sort of physical help as far as structural massage or physio or chiro. All those things allow us to continue on this pattern, because most of the things that we're doing wherever we are in this season are to some extent breaking us down. We're learning how to push through. If all you ever do is push, 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 you eventually will break. And I don't like you guys to break. I like you guys strong, and you're all very capable of that. But we do have to be really aware of those elements that, sometimes we feel really, really good and we push, 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 and we forget those. So even when you're feeling good, remember those elements of what rest are. Deal? So if you find yourself not sleeping well at night, and obviously there's other elements of life other than just our training, but if you find yourself not sleeping well at night and you have scheduled a big workout day, think about it. If it's super, super hot and it's 50, I'm not going to say 50 degrees, but say it's 30 degrees and it's hot and you didn't sleep well and you didn't get nutrition. Sometimes you need to reevaluate where your training is to go, oh, you send me a little text and go, hey, Mel, this is where I'm at right now. And I'll honestly go, yep, that's life, push through it. Or, okay, you know what? Take a little rest day and you can attack it the other day, because it's all about where it lands. It's all about where it is in the build. And it's just, those are all really important elements to keep in mind. Yeah. Got it?
Awesome.
Yeah. And enjoy the sunshine.
I have a question. This is to
Yeah.
do with humidity, because I haven't dealt with humidity like this probably
Mhm.
since last time I was here. It's at like 67% or something.
Yeah.
And what I find is every time I go out to run, especially, it doesn't matter if it's 6K or if it's 12K, I sweat for 30 minutes after I get back. And I'm drinking, I'm taking electrolytes. I'm not sure if there's anything that can be done about that or if it's just adapting, which I don't have time to do.
No, so the hard part with it is where you're at, and the fact that you're there for 2.5 weeks is with the problem with humidity is how we cool is when we evaporate, right? So
Mhm.
when you can't evaporate, you're not efficiently and effectively cooling. So side effects of that are typically your heart rate will be a little bit elevated. So when things are
Mhm.
super humid, that's when you have to adjust sometimes your efforts. I don't necessarily think you have to adjust the duration that you're out there, but the efforts, because your body can't actually, what's the word I'm looking for? Oh my God, brain dead. It can't bring it into level. It won't be in balance. It won't, that's the word I'm looking for. It's not going to be in balance. So there will be a bit of an imbalance. The question with that is, as long as you're taking hydration during, as long as you're aware of when you come back taking so that's when the rest becomes important, right? And that recovery becomes important. So we obviously need to be aware of heat exhaustion and things like that, but I don't think you're pushing yourself to that effort. But that's what it is. I find when there's heat and humidity, your effort needs to be addressed because you're simply not able to cool. It's just a physiological byproduct of that exposure. Does your body get used to it? Of course it does, but not in 2 weeks. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would just be aware of what your effort is, your heart rate. So people who train with a heart rate monitor, it can be nice to just be aware of it and to not force yourself to go harder. When you go longer, you just need to make sure you keep giving yourself hydration and electrolytes.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Oh, no, it does.
Yeah.
I'm just astounded at
I know.
things that I haven't felt for so long. Like I just don't usually sweat much at all.
Yeah.
And
You're glowing.
or it's
You're
evaporating.
glowing, Linda.
Pardon me?
You're glowing.
Yeah.
So I remember when I lived in Arizona, because Arizona is the total opposite. It is like 4%. We used to laugh that the humidity was just a byproduct of people breathing. I think it was you, Valerie, who said that maybe to me when I first moved there. Anyway,
Good one, but no.
I would have friends come visit and they would go for a 30-minute run and I'd say, bring water with you. And they're like, I don't need water. And I'm like, you know what? It's not going to hurt, but it's 30 minutes, whatever. I knew they weren't going to hurt, but they were like a dehydrated apricot. It's the only way, like you feel yourself just shriveling and shriveling and shriveling. And who needs to drink in but you need to drink that much because it's evaporating your regular moisture out of your body, let alone what you're perspiring. So what's really interesting in Arizona is I would go swim and it'd be 94 degrees, but it would be so dry that when I got out of the water, I would actually be cold because it was so efficient at cooling because you're being evaporated. But I would be like, this is stupid, but it's because it's so very dry. So in Arizona, the monsoon season would be the official monsoon season would happen when Arizona got to 30% humidity for 3 days in a row. It was 20%.
Wow.
20%. Yeah. Because otherwise it was literally 4% humidity. And like, you couldn't help but like pick your nose because the little nostril bits would be like, it was awful. It was
Oh, it sounds awful. So for you and Valerie who have done Ironman here many times, were you here long enough to adapt to this humidity before the
Valerie
event
was the
ever?
expert on that. How many Ironman Hawaii's have you done, Valerie?
13.
13.
Wow.
Yeah. How
So
many
did you
days
ever get
did you
used to
there?
it? Were you ever here long enough?
I would always try to get there anywhere from 10 days to 2 weeks before.
Oh, okay,
Right.
that would help a bit.
Yeah.
It really helped a lot, yeah.
And very little air conditioning. You wouldn't have the air conditioning on.
Would not use
No.
air conditioning at all. I would allow
Okay.
a fan to go, the overhead fan, and that was it.
Yeah, we haven't used them at all either, not the air conditioning, because the fans are lovely, but it's just, I don't know.
Yeah.
Guess you have to be here for a while to actually adapt to going
Yeah,
out and
but
doing
you,
stuff.
so you've been there now 2 weeks tomorrow, is that
Yeah.
correct? Yeah.
Yeah, and
you
today was
probably-
my best run.
Yeah,
I
and
felt
you
the
adapt
best
to it.
today.
So it really does take that, 10 to 12, 14 days to kind of settle in and get into that rhythm.
Mhm.
So, yeah.
And then I have to go home.
And then, but you're bringing the sunshine, baby.
I'm definitely bringing it with me.
Yeah.
Not leaving it here.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah. So I guess that was really just kind of what I wanted to connect with this week is we're in the season. It is racing season, triathlon season. Within the next 4 to 5 weeks, people will be racing. The weather is getting better. There's a lot of different things we need to think about. They're simple, right? But if you don't do them, you'll know it. And it's, you'll probably not do it once or twice, and that's fine. But it's that awareness of going, oh, that's what she was talking about. So particularly people who are doing their longer and getting ready for longer races, that 4-hour ride and that 2-hour run, those back-to-back days, those are long, big days. And your nutrition is super, super important for that. Your hydration is super, super important to that. The accumulative effect of shorter, quicker, harder efforts, right? They strip us a little bit more of those carbohydrates. But anytime that we're exposed to excessive heat quickly, that we don't have the time to adapt to, we need to be aware that the body will go, oh, this is different. Because it is different. It's just different. And the body needs time to adapt. The body is very efficient. It's very smart, but it's not a light switch. It does take time. So give it some time, give yourself I encourage you this week to kind of explore it and see how you feel and really be aware of it. And of course, if it really happens, but the forecast seems to be that way. I'm looking outside and even today was warmer than yesterday. So my sister sent me a photo of the island and it was a blue sky day. And so fingers crossed. So that's my spiel, gang. Any other questions or thoughts or comments? All right. Well, let's enjoy this little bit of nice weather. Like I said, I don't think it's going to last for a long, long time, but we'll take it while we have it and give ourselves that time to absorb and adapt and be in this transition as we move through April and May. Awesome.
Good.
Oh, thoughts?
Thanks, Mel.
Valerie?
Thanks, Mel.
Question,
Yeah.
at some point, will you address how to deal with nutrition with the temperatures, like coming out of a cold swim into warmer air, or coming out of a cold swim into rain in a race? Like
Yeah, so
nutrition?
I can hit that really quickly right now. So when you're racing in cold weather, which often happens on the coast, I've done my fair shares of that's a race that no longer exists, but Panorama was the coldest day in June, I think, always. You actually have to force yourself really to hydrate because you're actually using a lot of energy to try to stay warm, but it feels sort of unproductive because you're so cold that you don't really feel like drinking, but you need to drink to have that food with your hydration. So again, depending on the distance of the race, it is still important. This early season, there's not a lot of longer races. In saying that, I know Donna is doing the half in the beginning of June, so that's a longer event and it could potentially be quite cool. It can also be the hottest day of the year. That's the joy of June. But yes, there's no doubt that when it's cold weather, we do need to still give ourselves, more important in my opinion is the nutrition, the food, because we're using a lot of energy to stay warm. In saying that, we need fuel or hydration in the form of water to help absorb those calories. So that would be the combination. Electrolytes are a little less important. The regular amount of electrolytes that you get, 200 milligrams, whether you're getting that from your drink or your bars or your gels, you don't need to add or worry about added electrolytes, but you need to concentrate on giving yourself fuel, because the body, when it's cold and being active, is actually using a lot of energy to try to stay warm. Yeah. Does that help, Valerie?
Well, yeah, because in the island, we have 2 races in May that
Yeah.
can be up to half Ironman distance.
Yeah.
So we have one mid-May and one at the end of May, and the weather typically has not been lovely.
No, and people don't feel like drinking, but they need, and they don't feel like eating, but they still need, because the duration. But the thing they don't have to worry about is any added electrolytes. Yeah, but the need for 200 to 300 calories an hour over a long race is still important. Very important. Yep. Yeah. All right.
I gotta go.
Yeah, Linda's gonna go get her car.
Go pick the
We'll
car.
see
Yeah.
you at the end
Thanks.
of the
Bye,
week,
everybody.
Linda. Okay.
Bye.
Aloha.
Aloha.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mel.
Yeah, you bet. And Donna, I'll be
Thanks,
sending
Mel.
you some nutrition info for your race in Oliver shortly.
Oh, awesome. Okay.
Oh, awesome. All right. All right. Have a great rest of your evening, everyone. Thanks.
Bye.
Thanks.
Bye.
Take care.